Kathleen, hi. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Why did you think to introduce EFT into the school where you work as a school counselor? I understand fifth and sixth grade is middle school in your school.
It is.
So for our audience then here, what age group is that?
Well, when they start school, they're 9 or 10 in our building. And by the time they leave, 11 and 12,
So
age range from 9 to 12.
okay, so for that age range, so we'll have people from different, school systems around the world. Why EFT? Why bring EFT in to introduce them, to EFT at that age? What was the reason behind that?
Like so many people who've experienced EFT on a personal level, it didn't take me long to recognize just how powerful it is and gentle, and learning that it's really a set of self-help stress management techniques. So I just devoured everything I could find on it once I started learning about it. And I came across Dr. Peter Stapleton's work and tapping in the classroom. And so I thought, oh, there are people out there who really want to get this into schools. And as a school counselor, when students come into my office, they're dysregulated. And I work on listening to them and validating and building rapport, and I've incorporated some breath work and mindfulness, and I still have felt like I'm just putting a band-aid on their issues. And I know with everything that I had learned about EFT at that point, that if I could use those skills with students, I'd be able to help them heal on a different level. Not that I do therapy in schools, but even to use EFT on a friendship issue, which is distracting for students and is something that I can use EFT with, that it would make a big difference for the kids so that they can learn when they're in school.
I'm curious with regards to the how you've got that component of bringing it in through your role as the school counselor. Are there any other ways that you've also brought it in with regards to that how component?
Yeah. I want to back up just a little bit. I wanted to make sure that I had the support from the top down in my district. So I met with my superintendent first before I introduced anything. I really needed permission. And I backed myself with the incredible evidence that's out there and really tried to make it easy for him to say yes. And obviously he said yes. And I got the training, and going through the certification process, I needed to have sample clients, right? And so I reached out to my staff and asked if there was anyone who wanted to work with me. And fortunately, I had a number of them who did, sample sessions with me, and was able to build like a little support network right within the school because they had experienced firsthand the benefits of doing EFT in a session. So that was, really instrumental, I think, for me and having that support. And then my administration, they were supportive also of me using EFT once I had the skill set. And they just wanted me to communicate with parents, which I think was also a really important step. And at first I was unsure, how are parents going to receive this? But they were so receptive and extremely supportive, especially when I shared with them, this is something I use personally, and it's something that is backed by research. It is easy to use once the kids learn how to use it, and it works on a somatic level with the body's nervous system. And I think that that piece alone was really crucial in selling it to parents. So often, once I mentioned that part of it, they said, that sounds like exactly what my child needs. And so I would make videos and send those out to parents so they could see what it looked like. And that way they could support their children when they came home. And I also would task the kids, go home and teach your parents how to use this. And so they could work together, which is really crucial in the success of EFT with kids, just to have that support and encourage them to keep using it. So I did that, and then, of course, used it with many students, which was great. They just responded so quickly, which was remarkable to me. And I was also able to get into a couple of classrooms, which was great. I had a teacher, one of the band teachers approached me. Her class was at the end of the day. And so you can imagine a large class of, 11-year-olds at the day might be a little bit difficult to manage. So I suggested, coming in and doing some EFT with the kids and treat it like an experiment. Let's just see what happens. It was 15 minutes. It was very quick. And I did the hand model of the brain by Dr. Dan Siegel. So I did it like a watered down version for the kids. And we did tap and breathe. And I could feel a difference in the kids just from doing that. And the teacher continued to use it throughout the school year. And, the feedback from her was that it worked instantaneously, that it was easy to incorporate into the class, and the fact that she used it throughout the year and immediately after I left the classroom, she knew how to do it. So it was just really great to hear that feedback. And then, of course, she talked about it with some of our colleagues, and I was asked to come into some of the chorus classes. And it was a similar kind of situation. I did the same lesson. And what she shared with me is that she would just start the class by tapping. She wouldn't even say anything and just started. And the kids would start joining her and they stopped talking and they were ready to go. So it was exciting to hear that feedback for such a simple technique to incorporate into a classroom setting, just to help the students be ready to learn.
How powerful to have this rapport where, the teacher starts tapping, the students start tapping, and they don't, no words need to be exchanged, no voices to be raised, for them to quieten down, calm down, and get ready for learning. And immediately they're tapping into ways of reducing their cortisol levels, their stress response, almost in a seemingly effortless way.
Yeah, it hasn't been an overnight success story. And but every step has been worth it, worth the effort, worth the persistence of trying to keep hearing those yeses. And, I certainly have heard some no's along the way, but I just wasn't going to let that stop me. I knew I needed to keep going and to have that feedback from the teachers and from students about the impact that EFT has had on their lives has just been incredible.
This gradual organic approach, how long, was it a couple of months, was it a couple of years, like what was the time span?
I would say I started this process 2.5 years ago to where I am right now. So it definitely takes time, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. As a school counselor, I feel it's imperative to go through the level 1 and 2 training and to be certified. To have the skill set to be able to take care of them is really important in my role. As a teacher, it's a little bit different because there are ways that you can incorporate it in a classroom that doesn't require that you have level 1 and 2 training. But I just wanted to make that distinction, for school counselors out there, that there's a possibility of knowing just enough that it's not safe for the kids. So make sure that you have the training you need to be able to take care of your kids effectively.
Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of the results that you've seen in these last 2.5 years in your school or school community?
I have 3 stories that I'd like to share with you. One of them is a student who was very concerned about grades, had typically done very well in school and just kind of hit a wall and was stuck in a fixed mindset. I'm never going to learn this. I'll never get this. It's too hard for me. And very upset by that. So we did some tapping just on looking at the grades. We just pulled them up and whatever came up, just seeing what the grades were. So it was probably about 20 minutes. That's what I find is with all my students, it was right around 15 to 20 minutes. We would do tapping and I could see that she was feeling better. She reported feeling better. But the real kicker for me was the following week when she came in. And I asked how she was doing, just kind of checking in on the grades. And she said, she goes, I think it's okay. She goes, I might not get it yet, but I will. I can ask the teacher for help. And I've been doing that. And I think I'll get it. And I thought, whoa, that was a huge shift in such a short
Wow.
period of time. And I asked her, what do you attribute that change to? And she said the tapping. And she told me how she had been tapping every day. And eventually her grades did come up. We watched as they went up, and it was just clearing out those stuck emotions that she had around, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to learn this. So, just that little intervention made such a huge difference for her. with that. Another example is that I had a student who came in very nervous about seeing another student in the hallway just because of something that had happened between them. And the poor thing was losing sleep and had bags under her eyes. And it was very noticeable that
Mm.
she was really struggling. And again, we just did some tapping on anticipating seeing that person in the hallway, and it cleared. I mean, again, like 15, 20 minutes of tapping, and her whole demeanor changed. And the next day she came back to tell me, and I could see she just carried herself differently. She said she had a great night of sleep and that she really didn't even see the person, but she wasn't worried about it anymore. And it was just so amazing to be able to help her with that on such a deep and meaningful level. And then finally, I had a teacher who reached out to me and asked if I would see a student because he was rather distracted in class, which was unlike him, and knew that something was going on, but he hadn't shared what it was in the classroom. So when I met with him, I learned that something traumatic had just happened to him just a few days earlier. And so again, 20 minutes of tapping, and he was good to go back to the class. And later on that day, I saw the teacher and she said, I don't know what you did, but he came back to the class all smiles and ready to go. And I
Oh,
thought, it's just such great feedback because I know it works. And for other people to start seeing that it works is incredible. I have so many stories like that where it's, such a quick and easy way to work with them, and it's so easy to incorporate into what I already do. I'm already listening to the students. I'm already building that rapport and that sense of safety with them and validating what they're saying. So really it's just so easy to incorporate tapping into what I already do, and it makes what I do so much more effective for the students. So I'm so grateful to be able to have offered this to the kids.
anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up for teachers or school counselors or school leaders? Any recommendations who are listening right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I mean, just some recommendations about bringing it into school. Number one, I think just doing your own tapping is really crucial. So if you're presenting, if you are working on getting tapping into a school and you're feeling really frustrated because the doors keep shutting, tap on it, clear all of that out of your system so that you can just open doors for yourself. I truly believe that that makes a difference. And also just making connections. If you're sending cold emails out to a school district, they will be deleted so fast because educators are busy, and their email is usually inundated. You get requests from parents and teachers, other educators, administrators. So people don't have time and they're not interested in reading something from someone they don't know. So if you have a neighbor who is a teacher, or someone on the school board, or there's someone in your worship group, or your exercise class, like any way that you can make connections with people and to be able to share what you're interested in from a heart space, I think that that can go a long way. And if you are in a school, it's really just, I think, bringing data, which I think is important either way, just bringing information from credible sources. Dr. Peta Stapleton was really helpful for me. All the research she has done, and just the fact that she has the tapping in the classroom program, and Dr. Amy Gaesser as well. I used quite a bit of her research. So the last thing I want to share, speaking of Dr. Amy Gaesser, is that I am super excited to say that she and I are collaborating on some research in schools this year. I know it will be a classroom intervention, but I really can't say anything more than that. Just please be on the lookout for that information in the future.
Thank you so much for all the wonderful insights and experience and being an example of what can be achieved when we do our own work and we strive to embody this principle of leading by example. And it's not just about we need to do something to help the kids, but having that benefit mindset of, by us doing our own work, then it creates that ripple effect. And your story and your experience shows that, how it's created that ripple effect where you said this worked for me, and it's helped inspire parents and teachers and students in your community, and you've built those relationships up. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here and helping to get the word out about getting EFT into school. So thank you. Thank you for all the work that you're doing.